Welcome to Career Moving Opportunities for College Students, where the journey from campus to career begins. Hosted by Donnie Glover of Be More News, each episode explores how you can develop essential skills in creativity, leadership, critical thinking, and a growth mindset, all designed to enhance your college experience and prepare you for success in the workforce. Get ready to grow, lead, and create your future.
Okay, we'd like to welcome Charles Lee to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing well in yourself. Doing well in yourself. Good to be here.
Yes, sir. This is on behalf of the Entrepreneurial Development and Assistance Center at Morgan State University. The topic is critical thinking. As a retired Baltimore City police officer, how important is critical thinking?
Ooh, very important. Uh, in my opinion, I mean, you have to analyze a lot of things, a lot of situations with an open mind. Not only being an open mind, but you have to see why you're doing what you're doing, your thoughts, everything concerning from who you're talking to, what you're dealing with, the situation, and how to process what you're dealing with.
Mhm. So, can you give me an example of, what comes to mind? I've watched a lot of cop shows, that instance where you have to decide shoot or be shot. And I
Mm.
hope you've never been faced with that, but you've certainly been trained for those moments.
Well, actually, I have. Early on in my career, I was in that predicament where that situation actually occurred. And, you know, fight is number one. You know, either you want to fight or you want to lead a situation. But it was involving two individuals that were shot before I arrived to the scene. What we call as an on view, where you come across an incident in your purview, not getting the 911 call or anything to that nature. But I just so happened to be driving and ran across two individuals that were shot. And with that being said, I was my tensions, everything, that's my heightened alert sensitivity just hit a 20 real fast because I didn't know what I had at the time. The young man and young lady that was shot, I thought the man still had a weapon on him because I was giving him commands. Let me see your hands, let me see your hands. And with that being said, I didn't know if he was the shooter, if he shot someone, in return, if they shot him. But when you're dealing with a situation as such, it's a gun somewhere nearby. So for my safety and their safety also, I wanted to see your hands and what was going on. He was holding his wound where he was shot. So I didn't know that at the time, but it scared me because my thinking was he still had a gun. He was holding a gun, but actually he was the victim of the crime. And with that being said, he told me after, I got an ambulance and make sure he was secured along with his girlfriend that a young man had tried to rob them both. And he ran into a house and he told me the way in. As I was canvassing the area, I ran across an individual that actually robbed him and also shot him. He ran into his girlfriend's house and barricaded himself. And with that situation, it wasn't a good situation because the shooter actually came my way first and started to shoot at me without provocation. And I mean, you talking about your life flashing before your own eyes, man. It's not a good situation. But in lieu of that, not only the critical thinking, but your heightened of sensitivity, the fear again of flight or fight. I didn't want to leave because I knew it was two people shot, but I wanted to make sure he didn't kick in someone's door. It was a lot of unknowns. But tragic to say, he end up succumbing to some injuries. I'll leave it as that. But that situation, it definitely, puts you on edge, as being an officer.
Now that you are retired and running your own business, how does that situation help you become an even, first successful in business?
Mm. Well, actually, in dealing, successful, you have to know your people who you deal with, and what I mean by that, hey, who are you dealing with? Number one, what kind of background or what are you? Let me go back. I do security and transportation, so when I take jobs, I want to know, hey, what am I doing? What am I doing it for? What kind of people is going to be around? What do I need to prepare myself for? I need to know those things, and before I take any job. And as a saying, all money is not good money. No matter how much they pay, at the end of the day, I still want to go home. I still want to come out of the situation, the same way I went in. And most importantly, protect the people who I'm serving. They hired me to do a service. So whether I'm driving, whether a security job, I want to make sure all parties are safe. All parties go home the same way they came, or if I pick them up, I want to ensure that with my service.
How does critical thinking come into play when you have to work with other people?
I like to know my surroundings. I don't want to overthink, but I want to be wise. I want to be true, not only to me, but the area and where I'm going. You got to know where you're going. I mean, you don't always know, but you should have some kind of sense of where you going to be. And what my thinking is, hey, I know where I'm going. That what, it's a possibility that something might happen, and if it does happen, what are the means of escape? If something goes down, the people I'm with, can I protect them? Can I get them to safety? My thinking is, hey, what's the easiest way without putting someone else in harm's danger? I mean, what can I do to get us all to safety? And possibility, hey, do we stay and hit the ground? Do we get behind a vehicle? Do we get into a vehicle? Do we run into a store? I look at all those things when I'm out and about. My thinking is we're going to leave alive anything that I can do to cause us to make it back safe.
So you have teammates sometimes, you have people who work for you.
Absolutely.
Where does critical thinking come into play with
So
them?
even before we go and actually do that job, I like to do a survey first. Where we going? I like to see what kind of crowd is around. I like to see, hey, if there's any loitering around amongst people. I like to see if the lighting is right. All those things take an effect, and it takes place when you're doing the job, whether we doing it in the daytime or the nighttime. If we doing it in the daytime, what does the foot traffic look like? My thinking is I want to make sure we have a clear way, whether we're walking, whether we're driving, no matter what we're doing, that we have a safe time we can get in and get out. My thinking is, hey, you know what? If we go this way, we're good. If an emergency happens, do we have an emergency route? Can I get up this street? Can I get up this alley? So before I take any job, whether it's traveling, whether it's walking, whether we're walking the neighborhood, I want to assess the area where we're going. And if anything should occur, my thinking is we're going to go. I have a plan in my head, or I have a plan that I've given to my team. If this were to happen, this is the way you go. We're protecting the people. I want somebody in the front. I want somebody in the back. So my thinking is ahead of time, this is what we're going to do.
So when it comes to hiring people, what is it you're looking for?
Experience number one. I like to know, how long have you been protecting someone? How long have you been in law enforcement? What is your need if you feel that you have to, possibly take a bullet, or if you get shot? I mean, them things are important. I mean, do you carry a weapon? If so, how long have you carried the weapon? Are you familiar, not just to carry it to shoot it, but can you break it down? Can you clear stoppage if something go wrong and you have to use your weapon? When are you going to use your weapon? When do you know when you feel that you might need to use your weapon? I ask questions ahead of time. Are you trigger happy? Can you talk your way through certain situations before you use your weapon? Because if you can use your words and talk to somebody without using your weapon, that's a key already to me. Talk to me and tell me, or I'll give a scenario. Tell me how you will handle a scenario. If or this person did this, what would you do? I ask questions that most law enforcement go through when you dealing with people, not only in the public setting but in a closed quarters. When you talk to people, do you give yourself room to move, or are you face to face with an individual? Can they reach out and touch you? Can they grab you and cause bodily harm by your distance? So I like to know them things always come across my mind. And if anyone to work with me, have you ever been sued before? Things like that. Why were you sued? Why did you have to pull your weapon? What made you pull your weapon? What did you see that someone else didn't see? And I have them to justify that to me, to let me know where their mindset. Somebody that's want to pull a gun, you're not working for me. We're not doing that. I don't like that. That should be your
It's the
last
last
resort.
resort, I would imagine,
Absolutely. That should be your very last resort.
after you've exhausted every other
All your
means.
means and all your tools. That should be your last resort, not your first resort. Your last.
So, what about choosing clients? And we touched on this
Mhm.
earlier. You said all money's not good money.
Absolutely.
Some
Um,
clients are very demanding, on a
yes,
scale of 1 to 10. Some are very demanding, and some just trust you from the onset, or
right.
they may have been referred to you. Call Charles Lee, call Chuck Lee.
Absolutely. So what I ask is, what's the atmosphere? I mean, who are we catering to? What's the crowd type? I mean, do we have a lot of young folk? Is it a mixture? I mean, is it alcohol involved? All those key parts play a role in my decision where I'm gonna take a job or not. I don't like to participate in jobs where we have to do work because someone has been drinking excessively and they can't control themselves, or we have a drug use, or you have one of them type of parties where yeah, it's legal but the outcome might not be favorable. I don't do that. I say I'm sorry, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't care how much money you flash and show me. I'm not doing it. I don't need the issues. I don't need the problems to come upon me or anyone who's working for me. That kind of crowd brings a different type of atmosphere. I don't want that. I don't want that type of atmosphere.
I gotta ask, why did you become law enforcement in the first place?
Wow, good question. So, truthfully, that wasn't on my radar. I wanted to be a mortician, and coming out of high school, and I wanted to play a little basketball, but I decided to go in the police department because of one of my, like I say, good friends. His mom was in the police department. She talked to me about coming on to finish up what I was going to do in college, and the love for it. Me want to stand for 1 year, turned into 2 years, and 2 years turned to going into the academy, and it was a wrap. I saw myself, as another part of giving back, of performing a service, because I'm a servant and I like to serve, and I take full responsibility what I do and when it comes to serving people and serving the citizens of Baltimore for almost 30 plus years. It's been a great pleasure. Service is the key.
When it comes to critical thinking, does the same apply to all people?
Mm,
Baltimore's majority black, but we have whites, we have Latinos, we have Asians, we have people from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh. Does dealing with different groups require certain skills?
absolutely. I'm a firm believer. I don't care if you're dealing with the same race. You have to listen, number one, before you make a sound decision. I don't believe in talking over people. I tell people when I was a patrolman, if I have multiple parties, I give each individual their opportunity to speak with respect. I said when they speak, I don't want to hear anything. When the next person speak, I want to listen. So we all hear what's going on. And with that being said, I can conform or come to some kind of judgment from what I've heard. I don't, I do my best to give the best outcome, from what I've heard. But when dealing with people, you have to be you should be sensitive, no matter which race, color, creed, religion, where they come from. You have to listen to see what's going on. If you quick to talk and talk over them, you're gonna miss some stuff, and they are not going to deal with you. But you have to use thinking. Like I said, in all cases, like I said, whether you're dealing with your own race, own religion, doesn't matter what it is, you should.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about how on the police force you had to navigate all kinds of politics. Any thoughts on dealing with, critical thinking in conjunction with office politics?
Oh
Difficult
yeah.
people, challenging people,
Mhm.
um, people who are just difficult to be around.
Absolutely. And with that being said, I mean, had a lot of orders, dealt with a lot of orders. And, some of it was mostly political, because of the standpoint, some things you couldn't touch. And when I came upon them, I did my best, but I referred to my supervisor. I said, you know what, this is a beyond my pay grade and beyond what I can do. Let me refer you to this person. But me dealing with certain aspects of it, I did my best to diffuse problems with thinking outside of the box. Sometimes you got to go outside of the box to solve an equation. Everything is not cut and dry. It's not black and white. Have to use your thinking, creativity, to solve a lot of issues. And most people respect you for that. My thing was if I had to put any handcuffs on you because you truly needed them on you, that was my last resort. If I can talk my way and see something without, you know, putting someone in jail or locking them up or, incarceration, that was my goal, not to lock people up. But if you did it, you deserve to go. If I had to put them on you, you deserve to go.
You policed some of the most challenging parts of Baltimore City. How was it?
Hmm.
How did critical thinking come into play when you worked at the Avenue Market?
Oh my goodness, man. It took a minute. But with that being said, you have to know who you serving, number one. You have to realize the people, your people, whoever the people might be, like I said, whether they were alcoholics, whether they were drug users, whether they were homeless, whether they had addictions, you had to know the number one. And you had to treat them with dignity also. They respected that you talk to them like a human being. And with the critical thinking part, hey, you know what? I know they got a need. I know you living at the bottom by the train track. It's not by choice. It is what it is. And I understood that. So I had to think in a way like, what, put yourself in their shoes, what they're dealing with, what they're going through. How would you want somebody to treat you? Everybody didn't take a shower every day. So of course we ran across people that had body odor, had some stuff going on, but you still treat them the same way. My thinking was, if that could be my brother, that could be my uncle, that could be one of my loved ones. How would I want somebody to treat them? And my
Chuck,
thinking was,
you and your fellow officers gave people job applications.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Even
I
my
have never seen that in my life. Police officers in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Baltimore going up to people who are probably selling something, weed, what have you, and say, here. So here's the question. Did it ever work?
it did. Not all the time, but most times it did. And even if they didn't take the job, you gained the respect of the people who you were dealing with, whether they were drug dealers, drug users. You gained their respect because they saw you genuinely trying to help them. How to solve an issue. Oh, you don't have a job? I know you got a record. Come see me. You would cut off every opportunity to keep them from saying, I don't want to work. You had transportation? No, I got something for you. I have a bus for you. Meet us here at this time. So you put the
That's right.
onus
You
on them.
guys you brought the bus up there.
Brought the bus up there. Exactly. To
Did people
transport them.
get in?
Some did. Some thought it was a fake. Some thought it was a hoax. But when the guys actually came back, they was like, it's legit. They were true to what they said. So it wasn't one of them things that, yeah, we would, hey, now we take you. No, we weren't doing that. We were trying to get you employed. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it
Critical,
opened up the door.
critical thinking. You did parades on
Absolutely.
Pennsylvania Avenue. And it is
Absolutely.
my understanding that you got help from everyday people on the
Every
streets.
day. Absolutely. They were our greatest supporters. I mean,
Everyday
I tell
people on
you,
the streets.
cleaning up the block. They saw us with a broom. What you doing with a broom? They like, hold up. You supposed to be doing law enforcement, but you have a broom in your hand. You picking up trash. You picking up needles. You picking up bottles. You picking up chicken boxes. What are you doing? We got this. And out of respect, as I stated before, they shut things down. Out of respect. You know, no incidents, no shootings, no carjackings, no robberies while we did this stuff. Out of
But
respect.
but Chuck Lee, critical thinking says those are the projects. I'm not going in there unless I have to.
I wouldn't have no other way. It was many a day we went in McCullough Homes. Many a day we went in surrounding projects. That's to interact with people.
Don't
It's
forget the
not
bricks.
up on the bricks, exactly. Up on the bricks, up on 1800 block, 1700 block. That we couldn't go that people didn't respect us. We could sit in the bus stops and hold a conversation. They were there. What y'all talking about now? Hey, come and see. Good
Chuck Lee,
conversation.
I saw people come up to you about their sons, their mothers, their sisters, their brothers. You knew families. You
Absolutely.
know families in the community.
Absolutely. We still have a connection even as of this day. I mean, I didn't seen second and third generations come about, which, I'm like, but I was getting young. but they're kids and now they're grandkids. And, they introduce, he's a good person. He's the one you want to talk to. If you ever have a problem, if you see him, you make sure you talk to him. When you hear that and you see that, it shows that you're trying to make a difference in the community. It
Uh,
shows that, you're showing the human side of law enforcement.
we're almost out of time, but I have to get this one question in because I know it's important to you. Where does God come into play with your critical thinking? I know you're a man of faith.
Absolutely. It's most important. I mean, that's who I rely on. He gives me the capability to think. He gives me the capability to do the things that I can't do, able to communicate. People take common sense for granted. And I use the common sense that he's given me to apply it to my everyday living, where I'm in the community, whether I'm in the store, no matter where I am, the God given common sense to think.
Chuck Lee, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. Keep doing a great job.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Career Moving Opportunities for College Students with your host, Donnie Glover. We hope today's episode helped spark new ideas and practical strategies for building your skill set and shaping your future. Be sure to join us next time as we continue the journey from college to career, one opportunity at a time.